And after a thrilling, if not kind of quick game number 1, we got game number 2 on the way, and LGD looks scary good. And we've seen Naga Siren played so much over the last couple of days, I should say, since she came out. And a lot of teams have been struggling to find some sort of an answer. LGD just reached back and said, hey, we got it, man, don't worry. We just need a Tidehunter and a Disruptor, and it's cool.
It just shows the power of a laning phase and creativity. Yeah. I mean, so many times we've seen teams who are like, oh my god, their level 6 is amazing, and then by like 15 minutes in, you're like, wait a minute, they didn't win any other lanes. They're really struggling to get any kind of teamfight coordination going on, and sometimes just having a tremendous amount of farm can trump everything.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what we saw last game, not to take anything else away from LGD. I mean, their execution and their team fights is great as well. I mean, they just did everything right, but like you were saying, their basics, very strong. Their draft was just perfect, honestly, for that particular game, and the play of each individual player was great as well. But enough about LGD. Let's talk about EHOME for a second. They picked last game arguably one of the strongest level 6 teams that you could possibly put together.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they didn't have the Darkseer. They banned it out themselves, but they kind of had to, given the situation they were in.
Right.
They were going to give it away if they didn't ban it,
Yep.
which made total sense. But then they picked like these kind of okay lanes. Maybe they weren't expecting a full-on tri-lane coming out from LGD.
Right.
And it really felt like they couldn't ever get any momentum going. So if they can get rid of that problem, and it seems like they're not going to go the Naga Siren route this game, they're just going to take it out because they're not first pick, which makes sense. And LGD is going to go with the CK first pick, which is always going to be strong. They won with it last game. I really hope EHOME can take this to a game 3 because I know they have better potential than that.
Yeah.
I know they have great players, and I just want to see a better game out of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's LGD right now. I mean, EHOME, there is no, they're up there with DK and, et cetera, so far as legendary names in Dota 1 and Dota 2. And, of course, they came in second at the first iteration of the International almost a year ago to the month. But they have gone through some changes. There have been some internal shakeups, and a lot of these Chinese teams in particular, I won't say they're struggling, but there is a slower adjustment time as they try to straddle that middle ground between dedicating their time and practice time and what have you to Dota 1 and Dota 2 during this transitionary period. LGD has just been strong for a while now. LGD is just kind of reigning king so far as the scariest Chinese teams that you may run into. And, it's kind of a replay of our last best of 3 where DK was looking for a breakout game against Orange, a more established Dota 2 name. And EHOME, I think, doing the same thing here. Game 1 didn't go their way. They're going to be looking to force a Game 3, though. Shadow Demon picked up first here. Was going to mention he survived the ban phase, and he is really coming to his own as a hero with his popularity. Shadow Demon is getting to where he's first picked and second picked very, very frequently. Going to be paired with Brewmaster this time around.
People favor him so much in the current stage of the game because he adds so much damage potential to your lineup. Some Chinese teams actually favor getting the Shadow Poison over going Max Soul Catcher. They'll just get 1 rank, but even 20% more damage can be the difference between killing a hero before he's able to do anything or having something game-changing go off, like a Ravage, just as an example. For this particular case, I like EHOME's picks quite a bit more already. It feels like they're trying to compensate for what they did wrong last game, which was just simply not have a good early game laning phase.
Yeah.
They did what they could with the solo win on our top lane. That lane was pretty much a foregone conclusion, though. Queen of Pain's going to win that lane in a 1v1. I mean, Invoker is going to do pretty good mid against the solo Brewmaster, and we're already going to see pretty much 2 of the same heroes coming out from LGD so far, so they're not looking to change it up too much. And they're going to round out their top 3 with Lina.
Yeah.
Interesting choice. And this is funny because last time we saw EHOME actually ran Lina, and they banned it last game.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what stands out immediately. Shadow Demon winding up on the side of EHOME more and more, and we saw glimpses of it last game. Well, actually, I should say we saw more than glimpses. Invoker was able to lock down a good number of kills without ever having to leave mid lane, just through very solid Sunstrike usage. With Exort Invoker really being the way to build him, and as you point out, send him mid. You want to pair that Invoker up with at least 2 other heroes in a lane somewhere that have a single target stun or an AoE stun. And you want both of those heroes to have one or the other. And then you can just combine that with a Sunstrike coming out of mid at absolutely any time. And they're going to get that out of CK and Lina. In fact, with CK, the Chaos Bolt to lead things off, instant, can't be dodged. Follow that up with a Light Strike Array. Lina, of course, is Dragon Slave, is just a huge AoE damage potential spell even at early levels. Then with a Sunstrike coming down on top of that, that's a whole lot of pain dealt out in just a short amount of time. Morphling going to round out the top 3 for EHOME, and I love Morphling games, man. I'm not going to lie. Morphling is one of my favorite heroes personally, not just to watch but to play. And anytime you see a Morphling on the map, there's a lot of potential in how to build him. Do you rush out the Ethereal Blade and look to shotgun those weak supports like Alina, who's going to be trying to hang around the back of the team fights, or do you go for a more stable build? Do you go with a Lincoln, Scotty, then Ethereal, even if you get it at all at that point?
For this particular game, because they have a Shadow Demon, my hunch is he's going to be going for a really fast Ethereal Blade. He might go something like a Lincoln's to prevent the Chaos Bolt Lina combo from coming out, because that's really something to be feared even as a Morphling. Burst damage is the counter to Morphling, and having heroes like Chaos Knight to play against, I don't feel like Morphling is I mean, he's a really great hero, but he's not like super amazing against CK, because CK does bring a tremendous amount of burst with Phantasm later in the game. I don't think it's a horrible choice, though, because, again, you have Shadow Demon on your team. You have Brewmaster to make the fight already in your favor, basically, just by popping his ultimate. That hero is just really good at all stages. Right now, the thing that I want to know from LGD is, are they going to be running another tri-lane? Yeah. They have kind of the framework laid for it. They have a support Lina. They have a CK that's double stun already. Are they going to pick something else to lane with that and try to go for more early game towers and do the same 1-1-3 like they did last game, where they have somebody sent to the safe lane, really aggressive tri-lane sent to the long lane, and then their Invoker mid? It worked out great for them this game. I'm wondering if they're going to be looking to do that again.
Well, I'll tell you, if I was in EHOME's shoes, something I'd want to keep in my back pocket is if you pick up a Crystal Maiden here, which wouldn't be a terrible pickup, and you send a Morphling Crystal Maiden duo mid up against a perceived Invoker mid, that can create some problems for an Invoker. We've seen it. It just with good timing, good teamwork, as of course the EHOME squad is going to have, you can pick off just about any hero who is going to go mid, even if it's a tankier hero. If they do manage to go 2-on-1 against an Invoker, one good Frostbite with a good waveform, and depending on how they want to build Morphling with early items, that could cause a problem for what LGD might want to be up to. So, and you know, LGD let that go. I mean, they didn't ban Crystal Maiden out, so obviously they're either not worried about it or they just say, hey, you know what, if you want to spend a 4th pick on her, you can just have it.
I'm really, like, the Morphling pick is good to me, and it's like a little bit strange at the same time.
Yeah.
I feel like whenever you pick Morphling, it's in situations where there's not a whole lot of like really high burst damage coming out from, like in this case, LGD, but that's really just not the case. I think that CK is just a little bit too strong to maybe pit a Morphling against. Yeah. His late game, like Morphling late game is very good, don't get me wrong. But I just have my doubts as if it's going to be good enough to kind of trump a CK. And the way that we saw LGD run it last game too, you know they're going to be wanting to give him the best possible start that you can. Mm-hmm. Like CK doesn't need one, but if he gets one, he becomes one of those forces where you're just like, oh man, what are we going to possibly do against him? He's just going to Phantasm and kill us all instantly.
Right.
I mean, it's just really, really hard. Yeah, and there's the Shakers, so I'm really feeling like another tri-line coming out from LGD so far.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that solidifies it right there, what we're going to see. They're going to go Broodmother, so there's a long lane. And, again, CM's still there. I'm still a fan of it, especially now they picked up Brood. Send her long lane and go 2-2-1, or 1-2-2, I guess is the case would be. And, you know, we'll see. I think EHOME has potential with one. You know, maybe they have something else in mind. I think they're a little bit behind right now so far as pick ban. I just feel like LGD has got a really dangerous squad. You've got 3 very hard stuns, 2 AoE. I know they're going to have Lone Druid come out. That gives them the late game potential that they want. And it's probably just about going to have to be a long lane Lone Druid if they do decide to send the Invoker mid and run the tri-lane with Shaker, Lina, and CK. We'll see how EHOME wants to round this out. I'm with you, though. When it comes to the Morphling, you can see how it can work and why it's a good pick, but you can also see there's some liability built into it. That Morphling, everything's going to hinge on him for the first 10 minutes.
He's going to have a really good start for this game. He's going to be playing up against a Lone Druid. Lion's going to be coming out here from EHOME, and I think that's definitely a great choice. I mean, I think he's a little bit underused. I think the reason people don't use him especially is because of the fact that he's so level reliant. Yeah. Both of his disables scale exceptionally well, so typically he's seen in a solo role. It's possible we could see a solo Lion in this game. I'm not going to put it past EHOME to do that. It was seen in the past. It was actually very, very popular for an amount of time. You just send him mid, get him a fast 6, and try to execute some ganks. But for LGD, I'm actually not liking the Lone Druid that much. I mean, Lone Druid's a great hero. He can play against aggressive lanes and still be able to farm by being able to pull creeps with his Baron stuff, but I feel like if LGD is going to be sending him to the safe lane anyway, why not just pick up a Queen of Pain again?
Yeah.
I mean, the Queen of Pain worked out exceptionally well last game. They had, up until that Lion, one stun. One. And what are they going to be able to do to kill a Queen of Pain in that situation? I'm not going to question LGD because last game they played so freaking well, and they picked a hero that I haven't seen too much, and they just made it work to their advantage, and I just guess we're going to have to see how it works out for LGD in terms of lanes.
Yeah, or even a, I think you covered all your bases. I think with the Lion pick, it could be a solo lane Lion, or they could send him, again, with the duo mid. With whenever you're talking about all the CC that a Lion's going to have, paired up with a Morphling just playing as a pure support to try and anticipate Invoker going mid. That's got potential to cause some problems. That could be a few early kills going to Morphling, which is everything he needs to get off on the right foot and make sure he scales well through the early game and into the early stages of the mid game. We'll run through the lineups while we have time. Lina going to be played by Zhao 8. Looks like we're going to have DDC, our MVP of game number 1, playing our CK. Yao going to be handling Invoker. DD playing our Shaker. And Sylar going to be playing Lone Druid, who is currently hanging out mid, actually. Broodmother going to be played by King J. Morphling handled by Lanham. Perfect Cat, or Perfect's Cat, I guess, whatever you want to say it. Playing our Brewmaster, QQQ, going to be handling Shadow Demon and Lion. The final pick for EHOME squad, played by MMY. So, LGD moving through. They may, I don't think they're going to. I mean, they've got 3 really hard stuns here, and they are going to be tri-laning, obviously. They're actually going to be warding up the jungle as well. And looks like we may have a solo lane Invoker. Yeah, I mean, it's going to have to be more or less. They're going to have Druid taking the majority of the farm in mid.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why they're choosing to send Druid in this situation. The Invoker actually got sentries to start, so that's going to help him out. He's going to be able to counter ward and be able to pull non-stop. And they're actually going to be using a Lion with a Brood lane. This is another kind of, not really old school strategy, but something that we've seen a couple of weeks ago where you would send a support with the Brood, and once the Brood got some levels, she would send the Lings to the jungle and basically just get your support farm and levels because you get solo experience even though the Broods are still there, which means that he's going to be getting those levels that he needs, and it's just a creative way to make sure that your Lion gets the early game that he needs.
DD poking his nose up towards the top side. Morphling is going to be mid. It's going to be one-on-one, at least for the moment, with Sylar matching up with Morphling Invoker. Is going to be in some trouble down here. If he's not, I mean, he's going to have to play super duper careful. He's even taking creep damage at this point. Can't even get the damn creeps off of him. Up at top, there we go. Chaos Bolt's going to lead things off. Here comes the Sunstrike. It's going to be off the mark. Excuse me, Light Strike Array. Going to be off the mark. So Perfect survives, at least for the moment. Earthshaker did make his way up there. Don't know if he's been spotted yet. He probably, certainly has now. He's got a fissure in his back pocket if he wants to spend it. We'll see if they want to try and trap Perfect out, or... nope, they're just going to go ahead and farm, at least for the moment. We'll try to keep an eye on this, because we're bound to see more action. As, we even see Lina spending some more mana, trying to land that lead-off stun.
This lane, coming out from EHOME top lane, like the Panda and the Shadow Demon, this is like the perfect counter to what LGD's running. Because anytime the Brewmaster gets caught, you can get disrupted. I mean, it's really, really tough to follow up stuns and try to anticipate stuff like that, but if you do it properly, then the Panda's never really going to have to worry about dying, and that just eliminates all the kill potential coming out from LGD's tri-lane, and that's why Shadow Demon is such a strong pick and highly valued. I mean, we talked about it a bit earlier, but he can prevent aggression just as much as he can cause it.
Right.
So, with that being said, I really feel like right now EHOME's lanes are kind of looking like LGD's last game, whereas I think their lanes are actually quite a bit stronger at this point in time.
Yep, we'll take a look at the farm rates here momentarily. DD's taking a little harassment here. Lina's going to go ahead and rotate down. QQ is just going to go ahead and back out to the jungle. Was wondering if he was going to overcommit there or not. Instead, he's going to stay safe. Still learning our kill death there. That's actually not what I want. I want the last hits, which is W. There we go. I've got to learn the hotkeys. Taking a look at the graph. Lone Druid with 10, Broodmother with 11, leading the way on their respective teams. So Brood definitely doing well in bottom. Invoker struggling as expected, only 5 so far. A little surprised to see CK only sitting on 6 last hits at this point.
Well, they've been using some time to try to get kills and such, and whenever you do that, you're going to be missing CS that you would otherwise just get for free. And in all honesty, like, they should probably just cut their losses at this point and just make sure that the CK is free farming and don't worry about necessarily getting kills unless they're pretty much spoon-fed to you.
Yep.
Again, the Shadow Demon pretty much has to not be there for it to be possible for that Panda to die. So I think that right now, as long as EHOME keeps playing the way they are, then they're going to be pretty significantly ahead, I think, in the later stages of the game.
Well, speaking of Shadow Demon, doing a little work in the jungle here. Receives his sentry wards. Panda, yeah, I mean, he's very aware of it, how reliant he is on that support. Falls way far back, and wisely so. DD is hanging right by the tower. Still hasn't spin a fissure. He's going to be spotted by Shadow Demon, and likewise in the reverse, I suppose. And it looks like they're going to go ahead and commit. Well, Zhao continues the run, even though Shaker backed off. A lot of cat and mouse play all over the map right now. 3 minutes, 30 seconds, no first blood yet. It's going to be one of those kind of games. Defensive struggle, at least during the early stage. And yeah, I'm with you. I mean, just glancing around the map, I'm really impressed with the way EHOME decided to lane this. And I feel like Morphling's actually doing surprisingly well in mid as well. He's got 11 last hits. He's not quite on the level of the Druid, but he is holding his own, and more importantly, is getting his levels. And he's going to get bonus agility from that alone.
Yeah, having the early levels on the Morphling is very, very important. Getting your high ranks of Waveform and Morph. Like, Morph is what gives you all your survivability, so giving it to him the fastest way possible is definitely going to be great for him. We can see a potential kill.
Oh, good Fissure Dragon Slave from the low ground. Don't think they have the damage. Fissure, not enough mana. Might be enough to see how deep they want to dive here. Another Light Strike Ray. And there's our first blood. Lina picks it up. Zhao 8 puts it on the board. 1-0, LGD leads.
Well, that pretty much makes up for the kind of miscommunication they had earlier trying to go on the Panda. I mean, that's the thing about an aggressive tri-lane. Like, if you don't get any kills, it's pretty much a loss.
Yeah.
Because you're only basically getting farm on one hero. We're going to see the supports probably start moving around now more, I would say, after that. But if you get picked off once, especially for First Blood, then it completely makes up for the fact that you've been playing well for the first 5 minutes of the game. And that's one of the risks that you run when you're playing like the Shadow Demon did right there. Like, he's trying to counter ward. He's trying to make sure he gives every advantage to his Brewmaster possible, and it puts you at risk.
Yep.
And he just wasn't ready for that initiation.
Yeah, I can only imagine they're going to start to give a little attention to this Morphling here. Morphling just does not have a huge mana pool at all at this stage of the game. He's only going to have so many waveforms. It's going to get him out of trouble. But with one good gank, especially given how many stuns happen to be on this side of LGD, they should be able to pick him off. And he's actually playing pretty risky. He's actually put a few more points back in the strength. His health was a lot lower moments ago, but he is morphing in and out here and there. So if they can catch him at the right time and get a kill on the board and take him out of mid lane even for a little while, that'll go a long way and making sure he's not as successful as he's been so far. And again, it's not that he's necessarily getting the most last hits, but the fact that he is staying safe, he's getting moderate farm and getting the levels.
Well, the Lone Druid's actually out-farming him quite a bit.
Yeah.
The levels are really important for the Morphling. Like, I would say more so than the levels are important for Sylar in this particular case on the Lone Druid, but he's sitting at probably, 29 and 10 last hits. He's doing amazingly well, and he's forcing Lanham to just go ahead and use Waveform to CS, which is not what you really want to do. It puts you in a bit more of a susceptible situation to ganks. And he has wards, but he doesn't have wards on the high ground.
Yeah.
So if there's any rotation coming out from the supports of LGD, which it looks like Earthshaker actually made his way bottom to try to stop this Brood from jungling, it's just he's not as safe as he would like to be right now. And it's not necessarily like we know he's probably not going to get ganked, but he doesn't know that.
Right.
And that mentality can really affect how you play.
Very well said, my friend. As always, if you're just tuning in, this is game number 2 of this best-of-3 round-of-8 series between LGD and EHOME here at Monthly Madness Asia. I'm AC, joined by Draskell, as always, for Monthly Madness. Game number 1 was fun. Game number 2, shaping up to be a doozy. Whenever you have a game that there's so much kill potential, but there's so few kills as we approach the 7-minute mark, means both teams are playing at a very high level. Looks like they want to change that. Can they add one more to the board? There's that disruption. And yeah, they're just going to have to pull back. They fall back, and Brew survives courtesy of that Shadow Demon. And we just got a prime example of why that hero is first pick worthy at this level of play.
I disagree with them backing right there. Maybe they thought there was going to be a TP.
Yep.
That has to be the only reason for them to go back in that situation. I mean, they didn't see anybody coming through the river because they have a ward there. They actually have 2. And they had mana on the CK to stun again. He just had to swap Tread's wand and then go to Int, and then he would have been perfectly fine. Now he's actually going to take some damage in the top lane. But yeah, I don't really understand why they backed there. Getting the Panda kill is probably going to be better than even if your support gets picked off. The CK still had a lot of HP, and he's going to go ahead and Flask up now, but really strange stuff. The one thing they have to worry about, again, is MM is actually almost level 6. Like, he's way higher than the support should be at this particular stage in the game. The Lina is level 3.
Yep.
So he's going to be 6 really fast. He's actually going mid to try to gank right now.
And here we go. Yep, good kill there. Well played by Lion. Got there just the tail end. Here's the TP reaction, though. Lion is going to catch the Dragon Slave. Doesn't have a whole lot of health left. Let's see if anything's coming to help her and if Lena's going to chase. She is going to back off as a Spiderlings arrive. Has to be careful. She almost got herself trapped there. But, yeah, 1-1. We're all knotted up here in game number 2. We'll take our first look at the goal graph momentarily. I'm going to give it time to update following that kill. But I'm really impressed with Invoker's play as well. Invoker, given the situation he's been in down here, 33 last, it's on par with his tri-lane farmer. Doing pretty damn good job.
Well, it's because of his skill build. He hasn't actually chosen to go Exort this game, which I think is the right call. I mean, he's got 3 ranks into his quad, so he has the extra health regen, and that's like paramount when you're playing against the Broodmother, because once he gets a Soul Ring, typically the Brood will try to spam you out of the lane. He can't do that to an Invoker who has this many ranks in Quas this early, so he's just using his Lings to go help the Lion in the jungle and just continue to get his farm up, and I think he is level 6 now, yeah, so he's got his smoke up. They're going to try to make some kind of gank happen, and King J needs to be a little bit careful here. I don't think they actually have any dust or something like that, so yeah, King J now playing a bit aggressively, or trying to make sure that the Invoker doesn't keep getting the same amount of farm. And I really feel like these lanes are still favoring EHOME. It's just that first blood makes a really big difference in terms of like the graphs and whatnot. Experience and gold is still kind of skewed in favor of LGD.
Yep.
But this gank bottom could be important
There's
too.
a tornado gonna pick up King J. The dust doesn't land, and now here comes Lion melting down Lena. Light Striker raid lands, so it's a trade 1 for 1. Lion for Lena, but very, very, very pivotally misses the dust on King J, who was able to get to safety there. And now, here comes Perfect. Perfect's going to find DD, and out comes Brood as well. Ulti's popped on Brewmaster. There's an easy kill picked up. 2-3. EHOME leads, and it looks like we've got at least the Storm aspect diving, and it's just going to go ahead and lift him up. Just be annoying. Just put him up in the air, and Brew rematerializes in the meantime. But yeah, EHOME's movement, I think, has been really, really well. Their decision-making has been solid on top of everything, too.
For right now, I really think that LGD has to kind of continue to play a bit passively here. Look for kills when they can get them, but don't overcommit.
Yeah.
The CK's farm isn't terrible. It's 35 and 19. I mean, he was in a tri-lane, so he should have way more than that. Like, that's pretty much how you have to think of it. It's like your solo lane is out farming your tri-lane carry.
Yeah.
That's not something that should really happen too often, even though it is a Morphling against a Syllabear, and I think that Lone Druid wins that lineup pretty handily. It's just a matter of when you lane that, it has to kill. Like, it has to kill to be really worth it. And we might see a potential dive on this bottom lane sometime soon.
Yep, DD takes a lot of damage, down to just about a third health at this point. Worth mentioning, by the way, Druid has that much farm, and he died. So, I mean, he's already taken 1 death, and he still has as much farm as he does. So he's doing pretty well. I'm really impressed with Morphling, though. Now sitting on 42 last hits. I think he's held his own so very well, and he got the huge, huge benefit of the bonus levels of being left relatively to himself in that middle lane. Shadow Demon pick has 100% paid off here for EHOME. And let's see if they're going to do it again. Perfect is going to be disrupted. Light Striker Ray is off. Yeah, and fearing the TPs once again. Perfect stays alive. Just such good understanding and picking that and knowing the potential it has. Now, though, DDC does teleport to mid. And the tornado is going to catch Morphling. He's got enough for... Oh, just going to go ahead and replicate. But Lena waiting on him up on the upside of the river, forcing the strength morph. QQQ comes out to try to help. Now he's on the run. Perfect remains on the high ground. There's one disruption. Oh, a 4-second Chaos Bolt. Very fortuitous for LGD. So they managed to knot it back up 3-3.
That was... I mean, poor QQQ. He went in there. He's like, he wants to help his friend, and you're going to repay him by giving him a 4-second Chaos Bolt. That's just a little bit rude, but yeah. Nice pick off there by LGD. And they're going to get another kill, too. Looks like they're going to get Lion. I don't know why he was there. Not really sure what that was about.
That was a... Oh, there's an... Oh, what's going on over here? Let's rush up the river and find out. That was that kind of a kill. But anyway, LGD with a 2-kill swing in very short order makes it 4-3. Take a look at the gold graph. Still about as close to 0 as you can expect. Less than 500 gold differential at 12 minutes. May as well just call it even. And here's Morphling with an Invis rune. And he is going to go ahead and break it. He's going to go ahead and rush down our Shaker. Tornado off the mark. And Invoker just forced to abandon it. So very wise dive. Landon puts another kill in the books, making 4-4.
Yeah, there's no mana right there in the Invoker. There wasn't much he could do. I mean, he could have wanded, but at the best, he probably could have gotten like a Cold Snap and an EMP, and that was about it.
Yeah.
At this stage, though, I really like the fact that the Lone Druid is still farming very well. He's got 2,100 gold. It's only 13 minutes in, so he's going to have his relic sometime soon, probably about 16, 17 minutes if he continues at the pace that he is. And the Morphling doesn't really have too much. He's actually going to get ganked through mid.
Yep, Light Strike Array, very well timed. The ulti blown, more than enough to out-damage the Strength Morph. LGD. That team composition beginning to come into its own. And this is kind of what you had to fear. Especially once Lena hit 6, as you pointed out, she did get there fairly early, all things considered, especially given she was in a tri-lane. The pure damage output is going to allow them to roll in this squad. But now, we've got the ulti casted on CK. He's going to drop to a Finger of Death as well. Good root comes out from the bear. Might buy LGD enough time to get back to safety. There's a big clap from Brew. Zhao 8 taking damage from the high ground from his own illusions. No commitment from EHOME, however. So the dust settles, make it 1-for-1 trade. We're at 5-5.
The thing about these trades is they killed the CK right there, which
Yeah.
is definitely way more important than anything they were going to get out of that. They got Morphling, but they just stayed too long. So it's just like a carry for a carry.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit surprised they actually chose to stay and dive that aggressively, especially considering they were seeing TPs coming in. And you can tell who it's going to be when they get there. I mean, a brown TP means that it's going to be Lion, so there's no reason to try to overcommit to that fight, and they just went a little bit too far on that Shadow Demon. I think that as long as they keep coming out, at least even that LGD is going to be okay.
Yeah.
But with a Shadow Demon and a Brewmaster, Morphling as well in line, like their team fight from EHOME is very, very strong. They can't get too complacent. Like LGD does have great late game. They got the CK and they have the Lone Druid as well. They just need to wait it out a bit more. I think they're playing this. They feel like they have to get more done than I think that they really do have to get done.
No, I agree. Still pretty damn close, damn good game. Both teams have tightened up their play considerably. That's a pretty big swing in favor of EHOME, though. That's kind of the catalyst they need. They've got a team that, if given an inch, has the ability to take a mile, especially when you're talking about this Broodmother. Just can't turn your back on her for a minute, or you lose a tower, which is exactly what happened on top of EHOME picking off that CK in mid as well. Now they're going to pressure mid. Fissure going to put an end to that, or at least delay it a smidge. On the backside, we got action in the jungle. Zhao 8's going to be caught. He gets caught by Lion and killed as well. Invoker's Tornado. Just not enough. 6-5. EHOME gradually, slowly but surely adding to their lead.
If they can continue to keep on this kind of pressure, make sure that the CK and the Lone Druid don't get to a later stage of the game in a big way, then that's going to help them out tremendously. I mean, they do have a Brood, but Brood's not really a hero that you would consider like, oh man, late game Brood is just so strong. That's not really the case. It's more often like the Brood is just an annoying hero that you have to commit to and make sure that she doesn't just kill one of your lanes flat out. And LGD has done a pretty good job of that so far. He's going straight for a BKB, which I think in this particular case is the right call. I mean, he's going to be playing against triple stun, which is really, really tough. And not to mention, he can just get bonus damage from his ultimate anyway. I really don't know, again, like, LGD, they do have aggressive heroes, and they're still looking to kill, but Brewmaster has ulti, so...
Yep. Pops the ulti is actually going to catch DDC with a rock. There's a Fissure that's going to catch all three aspects. Just going to go ahead and TP out. No, he's going to be disrupted, actually. So he's going to pop out. He's in trouble. Good body blocking there from the Brewmaster. Morphling arrives just in time to help clean up shop. EMP going to make him scatter for the moment. Let's see if they want to pressure this tower. Lanham gets there just in time. Just what they needed to put LGD completely on the back foot and assert their dominance here in this middle lane. Broodmother pressing bottom as well. They are going to go ahead and fall back out of mid. And looks like with the owl there, should be enough to force Brood off the tower. So they get some kills. Don't get a ton else out of it. But hey, free CK kills, free CK kill. They'll take it.
I mean, I don't know why they committed to a Brew. Like, of all heroes, why would you go on the Brew? Like, you didn't even get a stun off. The thing about Brewmaster Ultimate is it goes off pretty much instantaneously.
Yeah.
Unless you have a stun either out of, like, fog or something like that, or you have something that you can't really expect is coming, you have to assume he's going to be able to ultimate out of it. I mean, he did right there, and then it was just a turnaround. And we're going to see a kill mid too, probably.
Finger of Death, and actually, Laguna Blade. Oh, Lion survives. The trade of the basic, what you call the right nukes, the R button nukes, I should say. Lion survives. That's a trade that EHOME will make all day long. Make it 8-5. Lena drops. Lion licks his wounds all the way back to the well. Back up at top, Lanham once again finds himself matched up against Sylar, fighting for farm one-on-one. And this, I mean, very close to a relic right now is Sylar, so he's not in horrible shape. And Morphling's actually going to get rooted, forced to waveform out of it. But I mean, it's...
What about bots? Interesting.
do I now? Oh, wow, he
The
did.
Morphling bought bots.
Okay, so he's going to be looking to abuse Replicate, obviously, and those bots. I guess they're going to try and make this a pushing Morphling, if that makes sense. They're going to try and just allow him to work in concert with the Broodmother to just 100% force LGD to overcommit to one lane or another, then punish them elsewhere. I think that's kind of the plan here. And it could work.
It's an interesting idea, yeah. The problem I have with that is the Morphling isn't really that tanky at this point. I mean, he's relying solely on his Morph for survivability. He doesn't have anything like a Linken's. He doesn't have like a Manta or anything like that. He has bots, which give absolutely no survivability. He's got his Ring of Aquila, which is 3 stats, and he has his Wand, which is 3 stats. So he's got 6 strength, basically. I don't know, man. Or no, I'm sorry. He has more than 6 strength.
Yeah.
It's 3 to all attributes. No, wait, he does have 6. He's getting his other strength from Morph. Okay, I'm really bad today.
So you got up. We started this cast at 7:30 a.m. your time. I'm pretty sure the viewers will forgive you.
Yeah, I hope so. But like right now, I think that's a creative way to run it. Just make sure that you have a Brood and the Morphling on the opposite side of the map. That's going to be what's important. But typically, when you see a Brood in this case, it's like you want the Brood to be alone with like 4 other heroes, so you can keep the team busy for a longer period of time. But we've also seen strategies like, I forget which team who did it, but they ran a Lycan AM, and they just had the Lycan and AM on opposite sides of the map. That's kind of what this feels like to me, and it could potentially work out very well for them. The only problem is, if LGD manages to pick a handful of your heroes, your split push isn't going to matter if they can push faster than you, which they will be able to do because they're going to have level 2 Phantasm up on the CK soon, and they're going to have a Lone Druid looking at his Radiance in the next probably 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So with that being said, they can push faster than those 2 heroes solo pushing lanes respectively.
Yeah, the bot's choice I kind of see as a high-risk, high-reward sort of a maneuver. They have the lead, and that, you know, if you're going to do it, it's like, okay, we're pretty much mitigated. I mean, even if it doesn't work out exactly as planned, we're a little bit ahead, so we can afford to take a little bit of a risk. However, on the other side of the coin, it kind of strikes me as an unnecessary risk. Why would you do that instead of just going, okay, we're in good shape, let's just get a Linken's and an Ethereal Blade on our Morphling. Or if you really want to go for just pure punching power early on, just go straight up Ethereal Blade. But that's why we're not professional Chinese Dota players, my friend. EHOME leads 8-5. We crossed the 20-minute mark. Take that as our cue to switch to the total gold. Nope, not total gold. Earned the gold per minute instead of the last hits. Taking a look at the scoreboard, we can see Invoker for the second game in a row. 3-0-1, doing quite well. 3-1 for Lanham, who's had a really solid first 20 minutes as Morphling 2-2 on Lion. He's been all over the map, helping his team out. Paid the price once or twice, but either way, still a force to be reckoned with, if for no other reason than because of his ulti. But I think this game's going to get a lot more interesting really quickly. It's still remained kind of quiet. 20 minutes in, 13 kills on the board, that's fine. But Lone Druid is really going to have to come into his own real shortly. If I think LGD's potential during the mid-game is going to revolve around how much that Lone Druid can get done when he's left alone and what he's going to be able to bring to team fights.
Well, the problem that LGD is going to have is the fact that they don't have really any initiation aside from the CK at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a drum, which is great for him. The Earthshaker is not going to have his blink for a very long time. I mean, he's sitting on 400 gold. He only has 12 CS. They were trying to let him farm here for a bit, but now that the Chaos Knight has made his way bottom, they're pretty much going to just give him all the farm. And not having a blink for counter initiation is actually a pretty big deal in this game. Like, they don't have any like bang turnaround teamfight abilities. They just have a lot of really strong heroes in terms of just being able to like skirmish or like extended fights are going to be to LGD's favor once that bear gets up his Radiance, because the longer the fight is, the more Radiance burn and the more effectiveness you're going to have. Heroes like Shadow Demon and Lion can't really stand up to that too well. I mean, 700 health right now on the Shadow Demon and only about 900 on the Lion, so if they ever catch anybody out from LGD, those heroes are pretty much just dead flat out. The problem that is going to lie for LGD is the fact that Brood has a BKB now, has 2,000 gold on top of that. The Morphling does have his bots up, which again, we talked about that, a little bit of an interesting choice. He's got 2,100 gold and a Blade of Alacrity. Not sure if he's going to go for Manta or not. And the Brewmaster has up his Blink Dagger. So their, I guess you could say, quote-unquote, core items are done.
Yeah.
So they don't have to really wait to fight. Whereas I feel like LGD really wants to have a Blink Earthshaker. They want to have that Radiance up and possibly a BKB on their CK before they choose to fight.
Yeah, BKB on CK, we've seen a number of times. Just the biggest deal in the world. Having that up just makes him so much more potent whenever it comes time to start slugging it out group style. But they are going to go ahead and start moving together. They're all there. The whole gang is here more or less. Brew and Shadow Demon moving down mid. They're going to look to pick here. Let's see if they can get a pick. Lone Druid down in lane by himself. Shaker drops a ward, keeping an eye on the Roche area. One middle tower did drop, by the way, a little while ago. No surprise there. Morphling did manage to pick it off. Y'all going to force staff himself to the low ground. Going to go deal with what's happening in mid. Yeah, they're not going to find anyone. Drew is just going to TP back as well. So very cautious play out of EHOME so far. Not going to overcommit too far. But I think this is the right approach by LGD. They're not like out of this. This isn't like 100% lopsided. They're 5,000 gold behind. 23 minutes. That's right on the border of significant and insignificant. I mean, it's something you can't ignore. That's one or two big items on at least one or two heroes. And this approach, instead of just going, okay, we've got Radiance done, let's just go push and hope. Instead, they're trying to isolate one or two heroes, and it doesn't really matter which one or two. If they can pick one off, that completely changes their odds of doing well if they decide to 5-push afterwards.
Right, and man, like I just don't know what. Like LGD is just in such a tough spot right now because again they have to wait for specific items to be up on their heroes before they can really feel comfortable taking a fight. Whereas EHOME has all the confidence in the world right now and they're free farming every lane that they choose to. They never feel pressured. They never feel like they have to basically sit back and wait for something to happen. They're the ones who are always being the aggressor. I mean, look at the supports right now from EHOME. They're in their enemy's jungle counter-warding the defensive wards by themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a Lion over there and a Shadow Demon. That is not what I would call the tankiest of supports. We're going to see a 5-man smoke up here mid.
Yep, there's the Fissure going to lead off on Cat. There's a 4-second Chaos Bolt. The disruption keeps him alive for the moment, and he is going to get the ulti off. Now the Cat barks at the dog. TPs are coming in, and LGD's on the run. We're going to see Invoker up in the air. He's going to be, and Lena's going to blow the Laguna Blade in the meantime, but EHOME making him pay as best they can. BKB up on King J, actually unable to find anyone there. I'm really surprised. The only death on the map. Wow, LGD actually managed to get 2 out of this. EHOME with the counter initiation should have come out ahead there. Instead, they just kind of broke themselves up. And I'm kind of stunned right now. The health was melting off of LGD. Part of it has to do, I mean, you hate to lay it on one person. King J chased the kill and was more or less not involved in the rest of the fight, and the rest of EHOME supports just ran out of spells to cast, and they couldn't do damage fast enough without the Brood there.
Again, it's down to the Radiance burn. He's going to get another kill with his bear. I mean, Sylar already has his Radiance up. It's really early. So, I mean, those supports just can't really do anything. I like the fact that the Alina decided to just go ahead and Laguna Blade for the added damage to make sure that the Lion ended up dying. Brewmaster got his ultimate off, which was a huge deal, but he overstayed his welcome. Like, he should have gotten out as soon as they crossed the river, basically. Morphling manages to deny the mid tower, which is definitely good, prevents any extra gold from going to LGD. But that's one thing that you always have to keep in mind. Like, at this point in the game, a couple of team fights like that, and LGD is back in it instantly. Like, I would say maybe 1 or 2 more where they get a couple of hero kills for basically nothing, and they lose a tower over it. I mean, yeah, it was a deny, so it wasn't the best thing for LGD, but it's still giving them some gold. I was going to mention that that was the first tower, actually, that has fallen for this game in favor of LGD. They haven't gotten anything up until this point, which is where most of the gold differences come from. It's not really so much that they're getting out CS as they are out-towered.
Right.
And the next couple of team fights are going to be really pivotal for how LGD is going to be able to make their way into the mid game or the late game.
Yeah, I'm still, again, just a little stunned. I mean, that's with the Brewmaster managing to survive and the TP reaction that came in. I mean, the Radiance burn is substantial, make no mistake, but I feel like EHOME just kind of screwed the pooch there. Their engagement was kind of sloppy, and it cost them. But we're all knotted up in kills, 8-8. The gold's still in favor of EHOME. We'll check it again once it has time to update a little bit more. Was dipping towards the Radiant side. LGD leads this best-of-3 series, 1-0. Morphling is going to be going for Ethereal Blade. And yep, it looks like he is going to be forced back by Sylar. But we just really haven't seen these boots of travel put to all that great use so far, not going to lie.
Yeah, I'm kind of questioning that myself. The thing that you have to keep in mind is like how long you've had the boots of travel they eventually pay for themselves. They're really similar to a Midas.
Yeah.
Depending on how many times you would have normally TP'd in the game, eventually it will be a cost-efficient investment. But not only are you not getting the attack speed from the treads, you're not getting the stats, your teamfight potential is slightly diminished. I mean, it's not huge by any means. I just don't really understand the reasoning behind it. I feel like if he had just gone regular treads, saved himself about 1,000 gold. Actually, I think it's more like 1,200.
Yep.
He could have had something else in the works already, which I think would be more beneficial than being able to TP.
Yep. Morphling did get the Manta. I think I misspoke and said Ethereal Blade, actually. Just kind of dawned on me.
Yeah, I think you did too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Looked at his inventory, one of those things. Had Ethereal Blade on the mind, saw Manta items. It happens, no problem. See, I can't blame the early casting time like you can, man. I'm jelly. But LGD is in okay shape. DD on CK going to make this real chancy for EHOME to engage. They got to be careful, actually. And the Tornado is not going to connect. Splits the wickets, but LGD just walks up, takes the tower, and now going to leave the bear to keep an eye on things, but just going to head back after that. And LGD's feeling much more potent. King J still remains relatively quiet when BKB first, now working towards, or now has the Yasha up, I should say, and working towards Manta. I feel like EHOME may have squandered a bit of an opportunity here. I like what they're doing now. They're going to go ahead and start pushing a lane and force a reaction out of LGD. But I think you hit the nail so clearly on the head that LGD was in a situation where they lacked a few key items, and EHOME just kind of let that window pass without a whole lot of essential work being done. Like, it's not that they didn't farm, they did, but that's kind of all they did. They didn't push towers, they didn't force fights, and now LGD's had time to close that gap.
Yeah, it's just a matter of how comfortable you feel in a given situation to be able to apply pressure or not. And EHOME just didn't feel that comfortable. I mean, they sat around, they waited to counter gank with their TPs, which is definitely a good thing, don't get me wrong, and the bear manages to teleport away from
I actually had the camera on that.
Spawn spiderlings, yeah. That was definitely pretty cute. But when the CK gets his next item, if it's a hard or if it's a BKB, whatever he decides to go for,
Yep.
and teamfights are going to be a lot harder for EHOME to win because you have a Brewmaster who is basically being forced into getting a BKB just because he doesn't want to get caught out like he did last time.
Yeah.
I mean, you can BKB after your ultimate, you can BKB before to ensure you get it off. It's pretty much just a matter of preference, but I think he'll be saving it for afterwards so he can get out of team fights. I don't know if EHOME's really accomplishing enough. Like, Brood is not a super great late game hero.
No,
it's not. So with CK getting his levels up, he doesn't have the best farm in the world again. It's 30 minutes in, his farm is actually pretty poor, but if he does get any more items, it's going to become problematic for EHOME, I think.
Yep. Brood's kind of one of those heroes that has a very specific purpose and role early on, and then if she does really, really well, she shows up in like a team fight at 50 minutes and just eats people alive. Like, that's just what she does. She's not that excellent in team fights outside of that kind of situation, and she is kind of tanky. 3-second Chaos Bolt going to help, though. There's an Echo Slam spin just to get her down. And this is what we were talking about, Draskell. This is LGD's plan. They're still feeling a little bit behind, and they are, in fact, a little bit behind still yet. But with that one pick, that's going to open this lane wide open. 50 seconds, Brood is down, and they're going to try and force a fight now. Like, this is not a situation where they're going to push until a fight might maybe break out. Like, if they have their way, they may want to try and they're actually going to go ahead and react, and they're going to try and catch Brew and Morphling in top. Invoker pulls back, and CK takes a little bit of damage, tossed up courtesy of the Storm aspect. But now LGD. And this, yeah, I mean, they want to fight with the Brood down to the point. They go ahead and TP to top. Obviously, they don't want to trade tower away for free, but they could have continued to push and just made it tier 2 for tier 2. Instead, looking to pick off another hero, unable to do so just because of the innate survivability of Brew and Morph.
I think that was an overreaction coming out from LGD. Like,
Yeah.
they had the Invoker there. They weren't going to be able to kill him. I mean, at the very best, they could have thrown out a boulder from the Earth aspect and given him like a waveform or something like that. But that's not enough to really kill the Invoker at this stage in the game, especially because he does have the Ghost Walk. I think they could have probably just gone for a tier 2, but they're playing it extremely safe. Like, LGD doesn't want to give anything away that they don't have to.
Yeah.
So I think that's why they had that many people TP to the second tier tower top. But I mean, they still managed to pick off King J and get a tower, which is definitely getting themselves back into the game even more. And the experience and gold are looking a lot tighter now. I think as the game goes on, like a super late game lone druid, the bear has his Assault Cuirass up right now, so that's going to be really good for LGD. I mean, I think the window is kind of growing smaller and smaller for EHOME to try to make something happen.
Very much agreed. And that's kind of the liability that is a druid. If a druid's picked and you can't get super duper far ahead, and then Druid has time to farm up a few core items just to get up, like you said, the Assault Cuirass, which is now complete, Radiance in the inventory as well. All of a sudden, that Druid, who was just kind of this little farm machine who could occasionally split push a tower and might get a good root off once in a while, all of a sudden, he just becomes this kill-getting machine that gets out of control due in large part to the Radiance burn. You're on a timer once it gets to that point in terms of how long you can afford to even stand and try to team fight. In the meantime, LGD, they were kind of knocking at the gate there, deciding to go ahead and react to bottom. Probably not quite in deny range on this tower, but instead, as you pointed out, just playing super cautious. And in that case in particular, I feel like they can afford to play a little bit more cavalier when they're pushing the tier 2 towers that remain on top and bottom lane. But I think anytime they're looking at racks, they are going to continue to play cautiously until that Druid just gets to the point where he feels unkillable.
It's probably going to be to their benefit. I mean, Siler's farm is getting so crazy now. He's at 245 CS. He's 3-1-1. Yeah. So he's actually got the highest CS on the map now, even higher than the Brood, who's basically been free farming the entire game.
Yeah.
So I really think that LGD has made their way back into this game completely. It's still anyone's game, don't get me wrong, but when you see a team who is a pretty good amount behind, it wasn't insurmountable, obviously, because now it's even, but they were in a really bad spot for a while. Yep. I mean, you're playing against a Brewmaster who has great early game. You have the Brood who you always have to worry about pushing your lane. Shadow Demon and Lion are great supports. And it's just EHOME kind of lost track of what they were trying to do, I feel. Yep. I mean, they just didn't apply enough pressure. They didn't force team fights to allow their Brood to even get the tier 2 bottom. I mean, how many games have we seen where 34 minutes in, the lane that the Brood was in still has a tower standing?
Yeah, that's
just an execution thing.
Yeah, I know. That just occurred to me as well. Granted, it's about to drop. I mean, it's not like it's sitting at full health or anything. But either way, that tower should have been down a long time ago. If you're going to pick a Brood Mother, this is what Brood can do. Like, Brood's going to get kills once in a blue moon, and she can jungle, and that's fine, using the Spiderlings, what have you. But if she can't just dominate a lane and drop towers early and get you that gold lead, and then after the towers are gone, continue to lock down that lane with the webs and just with the threat of her presence as much as her actual presence. If she can't do that, it's almost a wasted pick, because there are other heroes who could have made much better use of that lane in one way or another. So, again, not laying it on one player, but as I think, used the correct words, really the best words that could have been used. It's just an execution misstep. You feel like EHOME kind of got derailed. That's the impression I get anyway, just looking at the way things are shaping up as we hit 35 minutes on the money. It just feels like EHOME did get away from the plan that up until the last 5-10 minutes they really had done a fairly decent job of executing. Now, though, LGD with plans of their own, pressuring this bottom tower, we're going to see at least one TP reaction, maybe 2 to Morphling. That's going to leave 3 here in bottom lane, and it's going to leave none as LGD continues to play cautiously. Oh, there's a Hex. It's actually going to catch land, and Tornado as well. EMP. Can he get away? His Morphing Strength. 4-second Chaos Bolt. Laguna Blade Echo Slam. Dead Morphling.
See, they can do that all they want. They can blow Echo Slams on one hero. Yep. They can do that because they know that there's not going to be any follow-up if they pick a hero off. Look at where everyone is right now from EHOME on the map. They're all on their side of the map. They have the Brewmaster farming the jungle. And yeah, he does have his BKB up, but that's not like really a game-changing item. No. I mean, he bought a BKB for basically a reason to get out of team fights. And when you pick an item for solely a defensive purpose like that, and you're playing a hero like Brew, who's meant to get Aghanims, who's meant to be blinking around and playing very aggressive, right. I just feel like EHOME, again, they kind of just lost their way of what their team was meant to do. And with that Morphling being dead, I mean, he can buy back, but forcing a buyback at this point is really, really bad for him. He does not want to have to buy back.
There's going to be our clap BKB that accomplishes absolutely nothing. Buyback is forced. But yeah, they just spent 2 BKBs. Now, it looks like they actually are going to be able to pick off CK, so they get something out of it. They spent 2 BKBs and ulti there, and a buyback was required. And getting one hero out of that's just in no way worth it at all.
Yeah, I mean, getting one is honestly, it's something that EHOME couldn't have even asked for. I mean, as soon as I saw the buyback, if you're LGD, you just run. Yeah. I mean, you're like, okay, well, we forced the buyback. We didn't have to really commit too much just to get the heck out of here. So honestly, him dying there was just a mistake.
Yep.
I mean, they obviously don't want to lose one of their semi-carries, or hard carry, I guess, in this case. It's just a matter of, like, yeah, the buyback is still worth more than him dying. So EHOME still came out a bit behind there.
Take a look at the gold graph. It has been creeping up slowly, and we are just south of the 0 mark. LGD, who was behind considerably, 7,500 gold at one point just as we rolled past 20 minutes. And wow, EHOME's going to be spotted immediately. That's just a little bit of luck there for LGD. I guess you could say it's good planning, too. I mean, they obviously had the suspicion of what might be going on. That's why UO was there in the first place. Or Yao, I should say. But still, catching the smoke up out of the Roche Pit. Very lucky for them. save them any potential problems. But LGD's played themselves back into this. They were behind a bit, and now backdoor protection is going to keep this top tier 2 alive even longer. Morphling kind of went for it, but very fast reaction out of LGD, and I think that's really been a big difference maker since we got past about 25-30 minutes. LGD's reactions, sometimes overreacting a little bit, but by and large, they have been reacting and making sure that EHOME, when they did have an opening, really just hasn't gotten much out of it. They've tried to kill that Tier 2 top tower about a half dozen times now, and they just can't bring it down even when a Morphling arrives completely uninhibited.
You know what's funny about that is the creeps alone were enough to kill the bottom tier tower. That's how low it was. So like as much effort as they put towards defending this tier 2, we just see the tier 2 bottom just drop to a bunch of creeps, which is definitely funny. But yeah, you're right. I mean, LGD might have been overreacting, but it doesn't really matter when the reactions from EHOME.
Yep, here comes the 2 BKBs. LGD doesn't look like they want to fight for the second time. King J's there, as is Perfect. And LGD, okay, now they've turned around. The BKBs are off. Yo, this is a complete disaster. Morphling's gonna drop without a doubt as soon as he pops back. A big Echo Slam. Massive damage done with the BKBs gone. EHOME feels completely defenseless, and more or less they are. That was just beautifully played by LGD. They just pulled back en masse until the BKBs wore off, then turned around as soon as the glowing heroes stopped glowing, and they're going to get a set of racks, and they may get a 2-0 victory. This is a huge coup for LGD. Another buyback forced by Broodmother, which honestly, I don't know why. I'm not sure that was a wise buyback. That's just more gold gone, really. I don't know that LGD would have chanced it with Brew back up in 20 seconds, but they're going to go ahead and Rosh either way. There's no way Brood's going to stop that. And yeah, that was just that was almost like out of a cartoon, man. You see LGD all pull back, and then they turn around. It's like, oh wait, we can kind of kick your ass, and then they just kind of did.
Well, they waited out the BKBs. That was the only option they had. I mean, DDC didn't even bother popping Phantasm for the beginning of that because it's like, you know what? We're going to win this team fight if you don't kill me first. So as soon as the BKBs are off, we're just going to go ahead and turn around and kill you all, and then I'll Phantasm to kill your base, which ended up working out. And yeah, the buyback from King J, completely unwarranted. He's really not even going to make up for it in terms of farm and the time that he would have spent that anyway. So they couldn't contest Rosh. That's pretty much just a huge win for LGD. I don't understand like why they keep committing so heavily to these team fights, and they weren't doing any damage. They were basically attacking Chaos Knight, and he was at like 70% HP when the BKBs were off, and they were trying to kill him the entire time. So you kind of have to at one point go, okay, this is an overcommitment. We should just back up before they turn around and kill us all. But fortunately, that was not the case. So EHOME kind of again just really felt a little bit torn as to what they wanted to do this game, especially past like the 20-minute mark. They had a really good laning phase. It looked like they were on track to take the mid game pretty handily, but LGD, man, just played it exceptionally well. They made sure they reacted to every single push whenever they had to. They pretty much stopped the Morphling from like split pushing, which we see so often, and getting towers in the place of Brood. I mean, a bot's Morphling and a Broodmother, and they're still out of 2 towers. Like, I can't really say anything other than that. Like, LGD has just played great.
Yeah, I feel like I'm 100% agree with you. Both through the solid movement and solid reaction out of LGD, but also just through really missing opportunities. EHOME has not made the Morphling presence at all felt after the bot spy. I mean, it's not the biggest deal in the world. But still, it's a little thing, and I think it plays into the general theme here, which is that EHOME started out with a very concise plan, and they've just they felt scatterbrained almost. Like they're not focusing on any one objective. There we go. That's a good way to put it. They have felt like a team that has lacked objectives other than let's not lose the game and let's get items. And they're an extremely good team who had objectives early on and were accomplishing them. But as LGD gained power, and now, by the way, I want you to look on the Bear's inventory. He's going to be doing a lot of damage. He's got a bar that's handled by monkeys, last I heard. But,
yeah, I was looking at that Demon Edge, and I was like, is he going MKB or is he going Rapier Man mode? I was kind of hoping for the latter, but MKB is good too.
Yeah, does a little bit of damage, a little bit. Bear doing 200 damage a shot right now. That's with an Assault Cuirass and all the bonus attack speed he's going to get from that. And this is a shame, really, because the game's not over. It's still up to LGD to close it out, but EHOME let this game get away from them for it to reach this point. There's a super dead Shadow Demon. He just melts, 100% melts. And he's down for 40 seconds. They're going to take a tower here with, I mean, just look at the damage. It's like an Ag's Tiny. Friggin' Bear. Spirit Bear MVP. Alacrity doesn't help, well, it does help much, but not if you're EHOME.
Well, I don't know what EHOME is going to be able to do. Again, they're a team that doesn't really have... I mean, they do have some Blink initiation. They have the Brewmaster, but who is he going to initiate on?
Yeah.
He's going to go on the two heroes that stand in the front, which are a 2400 HP Syllabear with a bear that's probably just going to solo him,
Yeah.
and a CK who basically has a BKBF now and 2,000 health of his own. So with that being said, the only like targets they can really go on are the Earthshaker, who has a Blink, so he's not going to be in the front, and Alina. So at this point, like,
Just
I don't
look
really
at that
think,
tower melt. Sweet Jesus.
I don't think EHOME can really do anything. They're going to try. I mean, they have to, but I don't know if they can win.
Here we go. Chaos Bolt goes off, catches Morphling. Bear was hexed. Doesn't matter. And now here comes Brew. He's going to get the clap off, blow the BKBs, but there's just no damage being done. The health on LGD is just relatively untouched. Echo Slam comes out. Good damage done. That's it. EHOME loses their Brood. About to lose. Morphling staying alive basically by virtue of nothing but his strength morph. Yeah, there goes Lion. Off goes the Dust as well, just for good measure. And yeah, another Chaos Bolt Tornado. Morphling not going to make it home. Even a Fissure. Expect the GGs. 2-0 victory. Going to go in the books, and there they come. GGs from EHOME. 18-9 when we called it. 43-55 the official game time, at least according to AC. And EHOME let this one slip away from him, man. I feel like they had this game in hand for about a 10-minute stretch of time, and they just did not focus on any one particular objective. They played a little too passively given their lead. LGD, and I'm going to go back to what you said because I think you stated it so eloquently. LGD was about 2 or 3 items away from feeling any semblance of comfort in this game. And during that window, EHOME could have gotten way ahead, could have forced a Game 3. Instead, LGD emerges, and it will be heading to the Final Four.
I was really just impressed with LGD today. I mean, the first game, I never felt like they were behind, but this game I genuinely felt like they could have lost if EHOME just applied a bit more pressure and had a couple of team fights where they just, were able to pick off like even 1 or 2 heroes. Again, they had a Brood and a Bots Morphling. Those heroes push fast. Morphling went for a Mantis straight after he got his bots up, so those illusions do quite a bit more damage than most because he just gets the pure stats from being Morphling, and it pains me to watch because it's easy for us as commentators to see the positioning of the teams and be like, okay, well, they can do this and they can do this. But it's completely different when you're actually inside the game. So as much as we feel like EHOME kind of threw away what they had, they might not have felt the same that we knew like their position was, if that makes sense. Maybe I could have worded that a bit better, but regardless, I mean, LGD knew exactly what they had to accomplish. They had a much better sense about what their lineup was meant to do, and they had their timing window, and they hit it just straight on. Really, really well done.
Solid execution, and LGD, very well-earned 2-0 victory. Put it in the books, 44 minutes it took them to take this second game. And they'll be going to the Final Four, man. And our Final Four is so absurdly strong. I mean, just 2 of the teams. I mean, just listen to 3 of our 3 Final Four finalists right now. Our semifinalists, I guess, would be the less dumb way to say it. 3 of our 4 semifinalists, Zenith, LGD, and Orange Esports. Holy crap. And we still got Tong Fu and IG tomorrow to round out our Final Four. It's getting a little crazy here in Monthly Madness Asia, my friend.
I'm really looking forward to this Final Four, man. The winner of Tong Fu versus IG taking on LGD. I mean, holy crap! Like, what a... And Orange versus Zenith. Like, there's not many games where I really don't know who's going to win. Both of these round of 4 games, I don't know who's going to win. And that's something that I can truly look forward to as a fan of Dota.
Yep. We hope all of our other fans of Dota, of us, of our casters, the streams, the teams, no matter what reason you're here, thank you for being here. I'm AC. Draskell joined me for the broadcast of always, and this has been an itsgosu Esports production in conjunction with NOS Energy Drink, Own 3D TV, Max Integration, and Team Razor. Our next broadcast, about 5 days, give or take, going to be Friday morning at 9 in the morning Eastern Standard Time, which will make it 9 plus, so we'll make it 1400? Yeah, something like that. I think it's 1400. Either 1400 or 1500 Central European Time. We hope you guys will join us for that broadcast as well. Make sure you hit follow here on Own 3D TV because, again, we'll just go ahead and say it. I just want to say it out loud one more time because it is one of the most absurdly strong semifinals I've ever seen. We've got Zenith, Orange Esports, LGD, and one of the next 2 teams, IG and Tong Fu. One of those 2 teams will beat the other. I'm just blown away by the bracket that we were able to pull together here, courtesy of our sponsors, and again, courtesy of Molly. This has kind of been his brainchild. This has been his project, and he's been an amazing admin as always. But that said, you can find me and updates about this tournament and other castings that Draskell and I happen to do. Find me on Twitter @AC. And Draskell, where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter as well @Draskell, and the other streaming channel @NeoDota. That'll be where I do the eCal and PDD casts. But aside from that, man, I don't even know if it's worth sleeping in to miss more games like that. You know what I mean? Like, I would almost want to wake up at 3 in the morning just to be able to see the round of 4 that we have coming up next week.
It is going to be absurdly good. Something I do want to plug, by the way. The graphics work for Monthly Madness events has always been excellent, and that's courtesy of this guy right here, Bigfoot Media. You can find that at bigfootmedia.de. Biggie Style, he's always hanging out in our chat channel on O3D TV. The guy busts his tail and puts up with me and Draskell and Molly, lets us do our thing while he just focuses on the graphics, and always turns out some amazing looking stuff. Like our little smoke background here, we love that too. 3/4 of the Final Four is in the books, Draskell. Our final four, or final semifinal, there we go, quarterfinals matchup will be held on Friday again, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Find updates on that over at itsgosu.com, as well as brackets and everything else, and of course information on how you can get a Dota 2 beta key, courtesy of itsgosu and Raid Call. I believe we're just gonna let Ronald Jinkies take us out as always. We'll see you on Friday, and don't forget Saturday and Sunday will be our semifinals kicking off as well. We'll see you then. Take care.